Alright, so today we're back at the cottage tear down and rebuild. We're entering our next phase of the reconstruction process, actually the deconstruction process. Today what we do is as you can see, we bought the mini excavator, and today what we're going to do is going to strip the topsoil. We're going to take the posts out that are on the side deck, take the foundation out that's basically next to the foundation for the side deck, the front retaining walls, and we're going to start to take the back stoop out and hopefully unexcavate some of the house today. We'll get as much done as we can today, but we have a couple things we have to deal with first. My problem is we called the gas company the 811 number for when you unexcavate and dig stuff, and you have to call 811, and we called them a month ago and they have not yet staked the gas lines. They did say that there's no electric, and they did not come out and stake out the water lines. They haven't staked anything. They said they're very busy and understaffed. So we're going to hope for the best, because we did what we were supposed to do. It's been almost a month and we haven't seen anybody come out. So we got those things that got to get done today. So stay tuned and we'll show you how we get it done. All right, just one more note on the 811 issue. It wasn't one phone call that we've made, it's been multiple. At least 3 calls were made to the company to have them come out to do the staking, and we haven't seen them yet. So we're going to hope for the best and do our best when we unexcavate it. Now, another note that I want to share with you is why are we unexcavating the house? And the reason we're going to unexcavate it is because there's no drain tile that goes around it now. So we want to make sure the basement is dry as possible, considering we're putting a new house on top of the old foundation. So we're going to unexcavate the house, put drain tile around, and we're also going to put a Delta MS on the outside to keep as much of that moisture out as we can. We do have one issue. There is a water line that runs through into the lake. It's a drainage ditch from across the road, and we think it's cracked somewhere, because we have some water that's coming into our basement and by the front patio, and so we're going to have that checked out also and get that scoped out and get that fixed if we have to. Now that the house has been torn down to the floor joists, it's now time to have a little fun with the E35 Mini Excavator. Now, I purchased this back in August of 2022. It had about 525 hours on it. It is a 2021, and it's in the 3.5 ton class, so it weighs about 8,800 pounds. It has a lift capacity of 3,300 pounds, tear out force for the bucket of 7,300 pounds. It is the long arm version, so it does have a little bit more reach, about a foot more than just the regular version. And honestly, I'm still a relatively new operator of this machine, but it and I together have done everything that I've asked it to do. Yes, it's a smaller machine and it takes a little bit longer, but I have plenty of time. Now, as I'm moving this huge chunk of concrete and breaking it up a little bit, you know, some other people would have a better option of how to get this out of there, but still in the learning process. But it's better than the way I used to do all of my concrete stuff and my digging, which was by hand, or if I rented a small excavator. I did it mostly by hand, and if I had concrete to take out, was sledgehammers and jackhammers, and then putting in wheelbarrows and then wheelbarrowing it over to where we're storing stuff. But you know, I'm past those days, and it's time to take the easy route. And I do have to admit, everybody should own a mini excavator and a bulldozer at some point in time in their life, because it's just a lot of fun. Anyway, so here what we're trying to do is to get this back stoop off to the area to the right hand side, and it is giving us a little bit of trouble based on its size, but we're slowly getting there. What I'm trying to do is to pull it towards me and hook it onto my blade in the front and then lift it up. I do have a little bit of success here, but I do change my method here a little bit in the future, but it is a big chunk of concrete. Now, the tractor that you see in there is not mine. It's my brother's sister's husband. So he loaned it to us, and for us to move stuff. I'm not sure what year that is, but very useful getting stuff up and down the hill and pulling things out. But definitely going to be, it would be better to use more of a skid steer, but that's what we had, and we're thankful that we got that opportunity to use it. Now, moving this thing was a challenge. We finally got it to the point where it would slide across the grass to get it to the other side. Now, this is the area over on the other lot that my brother and my sister-in-law own. That's where we're going to store all the concrete until we can get it to hauled away or dispose of it on site. That's where all the topsoil is actually going to go, and that's where all the wood storage is going to be until we move that across the street. All those floor joists from the foundation are going to go over there also. So right now we're picking up the small pieces of concrete that are left over and moving them over to our pile. Now, I have to admit, I thought about buying a mini excavator that didn't have the cab because I like the fresh air and being outside. But I'm so glad that I chose the one that has the enclosed cab, because there's a couple times before I started this where I helped a friend of ours move some trees and stuff, and it was about 40 degrees out. And this in the enclosed cab, it has heat, it has radio, is air conditioning, so it's like sitting in your living room, so to speak, and you're moving hundreds and hundreds of pounds of concrete very easily with just joysticks. Now, like I said before, the younger me would have had a jackhammer to break that up and put in the wheelbarrows and wheelbarrowing over there, but I'm getting a little too old for that, and we decided it was time to buy a mini excavator because we have another project that's coming up here. As soon as this one's done, we're going to put 8 rental units on another piece of property that we have. And I now know why people buy equipment for tax breaks. So it's a very good tax break. And these machines don't really go down in value much. Yeah, it goes down a little bit in value. But what you buy it for, if you keep it and maintain it well, it'll hold its value. So this came out pretty easily. All I had to do is pick it up and drop it. And I've come to realize that if you have bigger pieces of concrete that you can pick up, if you drop it on another piece of concrete, it tends to break it into smaller pieces. These actually fit well into the bucket as we're moving over to our pile on the left-hand side there. Alright, so years ago, back in 1970 or something, when they actually put the foundation in, they put these retaining walls in, and they didn't actually do a really good job because, as you can see, that retaining wall wasn't even attached to the house. There's nothing on the other side of it to help prevent that from kicking in, and so as you can see over the time, it did crack that foundation and have to bow in. The one on the left-hand side there by the tractor has the same issues. Still a little bit in better shape than the one that we just took out, but we're putting our own retaining walls in, so this all had to come out. Now, I'm driving the mini excavator across this concrete and running the other pieces of concrete and dragging across it. We're not concerned about keeping this concrete that we're actually driving on either. That's all going to come out, along with that sidewalk that leads to the lake. That's all coming out. Now, this machine is it's a mid-size machine. It's a 3.5 ton, and it has done everything that I've asked it to do. It just takes a little bit more time. Now we're going to try and take this sidewall, this other retaining wall out, and it's attached to the house a little bit better than the other side, so we're going to need a little help here. My brother's going to come along here and get in the tractor and help push that over, but once we get it loose, it flopped over pretty easily. Alright, well there it went. Now I've known people that have actually purchased machines like this, or bulldozers, or skid steers, just to do what they need to do at a project that they're doing and then sell it. A lot of times they're just homeowners, but sometimes they're not. I know that when I built my house that we currently live in, I wanted to, all the site work was dozer work. And so I purchased a 1986 Case 450C bulldozer, and I bought it for about $11,000 at the time. It was in really pretty good shape. This was back in 2004 or so. And I used it for 3-4 years, and then I had some bills to pay off, so we sold it. But another fun tool to have is a bulldozer, so at some point maybe I'll get another one. But here we have to break this concrete up into smaller pieces, and what I should have been doing was left that small piece of concrete on the other concrete pad, and then lifted those bigger pieces up and have it land on top of it, which would break it into smaller pieces. Rookie mistake, but you live and learn. Now, one thing you should be aware of is if you're putting large pieces of concrete that's easily liftable by a mini excavator into a smaller tractor that only has a lift capacity in the bucket of about 800 pounds or so, it might even be less than that, you have to be careful that you don't tip it over. We had put we don't have it on video, but we had put a larger piece of concrete in it, and the tractor started to flip over to the side, because it's on the one side, and I saw it going, but I put my bucket in the other bucket to help hold it over, push it back down. It was kind of a scary situation, but no damage was done. So you do have to be careful of the power that these machines have. It's very easy to dig something out of the ground and not even know you've grabbed stuff. I do have to say that a mini excavator is a great tool machine to have, but if you're trying to move a lot of topsoil, a lot of stone, a lot of this concrete, you definitely need some sort of other machine that's going to allow you to move it quicker. If we didn't have that tractor there, each one of these pieces would have been held into the excavator, and I would have had to drive it to where we wanted it to go, and that would take a long time. If not, we would have had to have brought my truck down with my dump trailer and put all these large pieces of concrete in the dump trailer and then drive it over to the pile and dump it out. My only concern with doing that is when you put large stones and large pieces of concrete in a dump trailer, a lot of times when you put it in, sometimes you dent the bed, dent the sides, or you scratch the bed of the dump trailer. And I know there's a lot of people that have 10-wheel dump trucks that will not carry large rocks or large pieces of concrete because they don't want to dent their boxes. So this tractor was a definite huge plus. A little Bobcat, maybe mid-sized Bobcat skid steer would have been a little bit better and faster due to the fact that it would be able to carry more weight, but it served its purpose, and it did a great job for us. I have to admit, hours and hours would go by, and you don't even know you're doing the work because you're not breaking a sweat. You're in the air conditioning, radio's on, and it's a ton of fun. As you can see there on the left-hand side, that concrete pad that we were actually driving on, we pulled that all out. That came out extremely easy. I didn't have the camera on for that. But it came out pretty easy. All I had to do was lift it up and drop it back down and break it up, and it pulled out pretty good. Now I've switched buckets at this point in time because now we have the 3-foot trenching bucket on, and It's really a pretty neat bucket because it's got no teeth on it, and if you're digging out topsoil or you're unexcavating something or you're just digging holes that's in pretty good sand, you really don't need much of a teeth on it. All right, so we're back at the cottage on the lake today. Didn't quite finish up the topsoil stripping. Did get all the concrete out the other day, as you can see from our big pile there in the back. We did get some of the topsoil out, but we're gonna finish up the topsoil today and start on excavating the house. Took a little bit longer than we thought. As you can see from the pile, some of that concrete was 8, 9, 10 inches thick, and it was harder to break up. The good news is there's no rebar in it other than one spot, so that came up pretty quick. Just breaking it up into smaller pieces and moving it took a little bit longer than we thought. But today what we're going to do is get the rest of the topsoil off and start to unexcavate the house. All right, here we go. So now it's time to strip the topsoil on the lot because we're going to unexcavate the house, and we drew a line that shows our property line because we wanted to be very concerned about the neighbor's property and don't want to dig it up, and so we drew the line so we know exactly where the property line was. They're okay with us driving the tractor on it because they knew it wasn't going to do much damage to it, and the mini excavator could also ride on it without doing much damage to it. But we wanted to make sure we just removed our dirt and not everybody else's. Now this area here was a little bit more difficult to get to because of the tree that's there and our house that's there and access. And so what we've opted to do is to peel up the topsoil and put it in the bucket and let the tractor drive it over to our pile across the lot on the other side. Now I've built quite a few homes over the years, and I've come to realize that if you have topsoil, whatever you do, pull it up. Save yourself the money and having to go buy topsoil. You have it. It only takes a few minutes to peel it up, especially if you have a machine. And even if you don't have a machine, if you had a lot of topsoil to pull up, maybe you rent one for the day and peel up that topsoil so you don't have to spend the thousands of dollars to put it, truck it back in and then respread it. But here it's, we had the excavator, and we didn't want to have to buy more topsoil, so we're pulling it all up. Now that that yellow wire there, that's the doggy fence that was installed years ago, and we have to put that down anyway, so we're just pulling that right up as we dig. Once we get further back to the corner, it gets a little bit better, but at this point in time, notice I'm swinging my arm to the left so it doesn't scrape against the house, because there isn't a lot of turn radius there with the tree in the way, and made for a tight, compact area. I do have to admit the mini excavator is the way to go because you can get relatively close to a foundation with one of these mini excavators and not have to worry about collapsing the wall, because like I said, my machine only weighs 8,800 pounds. Once we got to a point where I was going faster than the tractor could get back and forth, I started piling it up, and I started piling it up, and this is about where we stopped the video, but we spent the rest of the day stripping the topsoil around the rest of the house. Same process, but we just piled it into a pile. Thanks for watching another Design, Build, and Fix video. If you like the content, click the subscribe button, click the notification bell, and give us a thumbs up. More videos coming out shortly on the lake house teardown rebuild process. We'll see you on the next one.